Hello everybody, in this lesson I will discuss division, powers and roots in algebraic expressions. This is how division works in algebra. What you do is you will simply say 5 goes in itself once, 5 goes into 25 5 times, and your answer 5x to the 3. Now, when I give you this binomial over this monomial, what you do is you will split up your little sum into 12x over 4 minus 8y over 4. And then you deal with each term individually. So therefore you will say 4 goes in itself once, 4 goes into 12 3 times, and you'll be left with 3x. And on the second term, you will say 4 goes in itself once, 4 goes into 8 twice. And you'll be left with minus 2y. And that's where you stop, since they are not like terms. Let's look at this one. Now, the numerator, there's a trinomial over division, a monomial. Now, the only thing you do is you will split this up again. So every term on the numerator will be over minus 3x. Let's do it. You split it up into 9x to the 3 divided by minus 3x. 15x squared over 3x. Minus 3x over minus 3x. And now you deal with each term individually. So the first term, there is an invisible plus. Keep that in mind. And then you will say a plus divided by a minus is a minus. In terms of the coefficient, you will say 3 goes in itself once, 3 goes into 9 3 times. That's where the 3 comes from. And then in terms of the exponents, there's two ways you can go about that one. First of all, x to the 3 divided by x means x times x times x over x, and then one of them can cancel and you're left with x squared. Or, and I suggest this is what you do, x to the 3 divided by x, when you use your laws of exponents, if there's no exponent there, there's an invisible one. And the law says when you divide, you subtract exponents. And now you also get x squared. So back to my sum. On the exponent, or on the x, there's no exponent, so there's an invisible one. So what I did was, I said x to the 3 minus 1 is x squared. The second term, a plus divided by a minus is a minus. 3 goes in itself once, 3 goes into 15 5 times. And then on the x's, x squared divided by x, you will say there's an invisible one. So it's x squared minus 1, therefore the answer negative 5x. And then here, the last term, you will say a minus divided by a minus is a plus. And then 3 goes in itself once, 3 goes in itself once. X and x can cancel, therefore you're left with 1. Plus 1. And then you can't take that one further since there's no like terms. Let's do another division. When I give you this binomial on top of a monomial, what you do, you split it up in 4a to the 3 over 4ab minus 16a squared b over 4ab. And then you deal with each term individually. So you will say 4 goes in itself once, 4 goes in itself once. And then in terms of a, again, we'll use the laws of exponents. When you divide, you subtract. Therefore, you'll be left with a squared on top over b. And b writes with, since there's nothing that you can cancel out with b, so it was at the denominator at the bottom, it stays there. The second term, you will say 4 goes in itself once, 4 goes into 16 4 times. And then in terms of a, there's an invisible one, so you will subtract on the exponent. And then in terms of b, since there's a b on top, you can say the b and the b will cancel. Therefore, you're left with negative 4a. Now, when it comes to squaring and cubing monomials, there's this product rule that I want to remind you of. When you have AB inside a bracket raised to the power of n, what you do is you give the power of n to both terms inside the bracket. And remember, if there's a number there as the exponent, you will also multiply it with this to the power of n, since a bracket means multiplication. If I give you this minus 3a to the 3 squared, then you will say, when you, there's actually two ways you can do this. Let me show you the one way. This thing is the same as minus 3a to the 3 times minus 3a to the 3. And then you can say a minus times a minus is a plus, 3 times 3 is 9, and a to the 3 times a to the 3, when you multiply, you add exponents. So it becomes a to the 6. Or you can say, I'm going to square the minus 3. Minus 3 squared is plus 9. And then now I will raise the a to the 3 to the 2. And bracket means multiplication in terms of exponents. Therefore, the answer, a to the 6. Whatever method you want to do, that will be fine with me. Now, if you go to the next sum, 5b squared c to the 3 raised to the 3, or cubed rather, then let's do it this way, where you will raise the 5 to the power of 3, you will raise the 2 to the power of 3, you will raise the 3. Then 5 cubed is what you've got there, and then in terms of b, since you're working with exponents and there's a bracket, you will multiply the exponents. 2 times 3 is 6, and in terms of c, 3 times 3 is 9. And then just to finish off, 5 cubed is not 15, it's 5 times 5 times 5, which is 125, b to the 6, c to the 9. Now, in terms of square roots, when you have to simplify this, what you'll do is with the numbers, the coefficients, 64's square root is 8. But now when it gets to the variables, you do it this way around. You say, when there's nothing there, there's an invisible 2, since it's a square root. And then you take your invisible 2 and you divide every exponent by that 2. So therefore the answer will be the square root of 64 is 8. And then in terms of x, the 2 and 2 will cancel, so you're left with x to the 1. And in terms of y, you will say 2 goes in itself once, 2 goes into y twice. Let's do another example. 25a squared minus 9a squared. Now, you cannot deal with each term individually. That's mathematically incorrect. That's exactly why I gave you the sum. First, you have to work with whatever is going inside the bracket there, and then you find like terms. So first you will say 25a squared minus 9a squared is 16a squared, and now you will say there's the invisible 2, the square root of 16 is 4, and then a squared you divide with the 2, and 2 and 2 will cancel. And then in terms of a cube root, it works exactly the same. You will say the cube root of negative 8 is negative 2, and then in terms of the cube root of a to the 6, you will divide with the 3 and you will divide the exponent by 3. Therefore, the cube root of negative 8 is negative 2, and then in terms of a, 3 goes in itself once, 3 goes into 6 twice. And in terms of b, 3 goes in itself once and 3 goes into 9 3 times. The answer, negative 2a squared b to the 3. In the next video, I will teach you how to multiply a binomial with a trinomial. Click on the video in the left-hand corner to take you straight to the next lesson.